Welcome back to the 5% Club. I'm Shayla King, a former C-suite executive turned business and life coach. And this is the podcast for leaders who want it all. The promotions, the paychecks, and luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. Each week, I'm going to teach you from my performance and happiness formula what it takes to rise to the top without burnout and overwhelm. Work less, make more, and design a life you love. That's what we do in the 5% Club. Let's go. Welcome back to the 5% Club. I'm Shayla King, your favorite executive coach for dual career families. All right, I want to start by asking you something today. When is the last time someone told you that you're doing something that is historically unprecedented? Not in a motivational poster kind of way, in like a literal, factual, nobody has ever done this before kind of way. Because here's the truth. What dual career couples are navigating right now has never been the norm in human history. And yet we're out here holding ourselves to a standard that was built for a completely different world. And today we're going to talk about it. And in this episode, I want, above all else, you to feel one thing: understood. For most of recorded history, households ran on a division of labor. One person was the economic engine, the other ran the household, managed the kids, handled the meals, the errands, the mental load of keeping the family alive and functioning. And that model had a lot of problems, and we know that. But there's one thing it did have. It had a system that gave each person one primary role. Then everything changed. Today, around 60% of married couples do both. 60%. The number of dual income households has nearly doubled since 1960. And we did not build any new systems to support that shift. We just added that second job on top of everything that already existed and said, figure it out. Work like you don't have kids, parent like you don't have a job, maintain a home like you have unlimited time and that it's your favorite thing in the world to do, and have a marriage like you have unlimited energy. Be present, be promotable, be sexy, be everything. This is not a personal failure. It's a design flaw. And I want to say something that I do not hear said enough. This is new, truly new. The dual career household as the norm is a phenomenon of the last few decades. We're the first generation doing this at scale. So when you feel like you are failing, it's something everyone else has figured out, I want you to know no one has it figured out. There is no secret. The playbook for this life does not exist. We're writing it right now, and we're going to write it in the 5% way, which means you do not have to be miserable. Exhausted is not a requirement of ambition, and depleted is not proof that you don't care enough. You are allowed to want the career and want a life that does not feel like a grind. That is not greed. That's the whole point. I want to name something as we talk about this. The world's playbook never updated as the times changed. And I talk to you guys a lot about the playbook, and we all have one for how everyone in our lives should perform. And trust me, I think my playbook for how you should live your life is better than yours for your life. And we all have that. And it comes with all of these biases from how we were raised and what we think is good in the world and our own personal values. And it's where things come out, like when I was told that I only work because I love shoes. And that came from a family member whose vision was, if you did not stay home, it's because you did not love your kids, right? Like it was the most selfish thing a woman could do, was not devote her entire life to child rendering. And so I want you to know a couple things. One, I've tried to talk to you about this a lot, that we can always separate how we live our lives versus how everybody wants us to live our life. And it's a fruitless effort. You can try your best to please everybody and meet all of their expectations. And at the end of the day, you're going to let them all down in some way, in some form, and they're going to be disappointed with you. But most of all, you're going to lose the plot of yourself. You're going to sacrifice yourself in ways that you're mostly let down because you never had your own back. You never did the things that you wanted, that you felt were right. And at the end of lives, when people are on their deathbed, the regret that is named the most is they didn't just live for themselves. They didn't just do and live boldly and go after it. And so I want you to know two things. One is that playbook is and always will be at play. There's never a time we're going to master it. We're never going to figure out how to make the boss happy, that spouse happy, the in-laws happy, the kids happy, and be everyone to everything. It's impossible. And also, this playbook was never even updated as the times changed. As we became dual income families, like none of it changed. The expectation are still for you to be, Betty Crocker in the kitchen. It's still for you to be Martha Stewart as you throw parties. And now we have this be agreed as you run a business. And trying to do it all is wild. You will fail. And when I say do it all, I mean doing everyone else around us's expectations. Because I truly believe that there is a beautiful form of balance that you can have in your life where you're going after your dreams. You're taking care of your health and you have luxurious amounts of time for your family. And I'm one of the few people that believe that, but I know it to be true because I have done it. I have my life in beautiful thirds, and I've done it with so many of my clients, executives at every level that have proven that when you give up on trying to please anybody else, you can make a life that you freaking love. But that's the whole point. The whole point is to create a life that we love. And so that's what I want to talk to you about more today, because the world's playbook never updated to the fact that you both work or you're a single mom. It didn't. You're still expected to do all of those things that you did before you worked full time. A lot of us are the first breadwinner in our family's hierarchy. At the very least, are in a dual career family. And so I just want you to really see today, as we talk about this, the difference. Women today are working because they are extraordinary leaders, because they're providing for their families, because they're building something, because they are great at what they do and they know it, not because they want shoes. There's nothing dirty or wrong with our ambition, nothing. And yet the old playbook is still running. It still whispers that if you really loved your children, you'd stay home. That since you made the selfish choice to work, every minute outside the office should go to your kids and your household duties as a woman. And of course, of being beautiful and being pleasant and always being happy and smiling. And that your career is a hobby that you're indulging in, that you're selfishly indulging in, while real life and the people who need you wait. One of my favorite things with my clients is we talk about how we're grateful and we want more. Because so many times people in our lives are saying, why can't you just be happy with a good enough life? Why can't you just be satisfied and stay home and give up on your career dreams so you can be a good mom? And it's wild, right? But today I really want to talk about the challenges that dual income families have, because I work with men as well. This is not just a women's conversation. And the expectations for dads have shifted dramatically too. It's no longer just about being the provider. Dads are expected to coach the games and do the homework and be emotionally present and be involved in ways that previous generations simply were not expected to do. And a lot of men in the workplace feel just as nervous about leaving for a kid's game as the women do. The pressure is real on both sides of this. Men come to me worried about job jeopardy because half of their peers have a stay-at-home wife who is doing the laundry and taking care of the kids and packing his suitcase before he goes on a business trip. And he's trying to be a new version of a dad. He's trying to be a new version of a partner. He's trying to come in and be that equal to his wife. But at the same time, he's worried that his career is going to suffer because of it. He's worried that he could literally be let go from his job because he doesn't look as committed as somebody else. And so the pressure is real, which is exactly why people come to work with me, both men and women. Because figuring out how to have the physical energy, the emotional energy, and the resources and rituals to actually achieve your dreams and love your whole life, it's not a solo project. I want to read you a quote by Indra Nooyi. She's the former CEO of Pepsi. And I think this quote is pretty powerful because it talks about the complication between even just the timing of everything. The biological clock and the career clock are in total conflict with each other. Total complete conflict. When you have to have kids, you have to build your career. Just as you're rising into middle management, your kids need you even more because they're teenagers. And so she talked about that struggle that comes for women and men, that the time that you invest the most and grow the most in your career is also the same time that you are figuring out your children. And I'd add to it the same time that you're figuring out your marriage and you're trying to like get everything under your feet. So it's just such a stressful time. And it's why it can cause a lot of friction that causes and impacts divorce. It can cause a lot of friction and have a lot of women drop out of the workforce. So because they can't figure out how to make it work. And this is what I want to talk to you about. As you know, my biggest thing is to empower you and to let you know you get to decide what you want out of this life. And if a woman wants to stay home, I love that for you. Like, I want you to truly, honestly say, what do I want? Not as what does the rest of the world expect out of me, or what should I do? What do you want? So if you want to, fantastic. But if you know you are built for leadership in the workplace, if you know that you want a career, what I don't want is you ever dropping out because you couldn't figure out how to make it work. That's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about real solutions and how women can change their lives, how women can structure it, and men, so that these dual income families work, these dual career families work. And it's not just the job of the woman to figure it out. It's the job of both people to figure out how they can get the support and the resources that they need, how they can take care of themselves as the asset, how they can support each other and not just keep adding more and more and more. So the quote that I just read you is a woman who ran a $200 billion company said out loud that the system is in conflict with itself. If it's hard for her, it's hard for everyone. You're not failing at life. You're operating inside a structure that was never designed for you. So let's talk about what's actually happening. Both people are good at their jobs. They're genuinely trying. Both people come home exhausted and they still have to figure out dinner, answer school emails, do laundry, schedule the pediatrician, and somehow they also have to be present and connected partners to each other and calm and patient while they're doing child rendering. And because nobody's explicitly in charge of the household, it becomes the invisible competition that nobody signed up for. Who does more? Who's more tired? Who sacrificed more this week? That feeling of resentment, I've felt it so much myself in my life. And even with a partner that is helping, it can come up when you start making it a match for match. What have I done this week? What have you done this week? Right? But nobody wins that game. But we just keep playing it because we're so freaking tired and we need somebody to blame. We need somebody that should have stepped up and should have helped us more because it's so tiring. Studies show that 41% of dual income couples report arguments specifically about the division of household labor. It's nearly half of all couples where both people work. In dual income households, let's be honest, women still carry the majority of the household and childcare work. Even when both people are working equally demanding jobs, even when the woman makes more income. The invisible load does not split evenly just because the paychecks do. So if you feel like you're running 2 full-time jobs and somehow still behind, you're not imagining it. I want you guys to think about this following question. Imagine what would be possible for women if we all had a wife. I want you to really let that sink in. What would be possible for women if we all had a wife? You see, for generations, the men who built empires and ran companies and led countries had someone at home managing every single thing that was not the job. They never had to think about groceries or school pickup or whether there was food in the house. They got to show up fully because someone else had everything else. Most high-achieving women have never had that. We're doing both sides of the equation, and then we wonder why we're so freaking tired. Some of you are making six figures. Some of you are making multiple six figures, and you feel guilty about paying someone to clean your house. I want to say this as lovingly as possible. It's wild. Nobody blinks when somebody drives up in a new truck. Nobody says, I cannot believe you spent your money that way. There is no social judgment for a new car, a bigger house, an upgraded garage. Instead, it's kind of this cool, like, you made it. It's like considered signs of success, signs that you made it, right? But the moment someone says they have a housekeeper or a meal prep person or a driver for the kids, suddenly it's a signal of weakness. Suddenly you couldn't handle it. You're soft. It's a completely invented double standard. Now you're bougie, now you're lazy, because if you could do it yourself, you should. But it's totally fine to go get a souped up F-350. Isn't that crazy? But don't you dare get somebody to help with laundry when you're both working. That means you failed. You failed as a mother, you failed as a couple. You're so entitled. You're so bougie. Think about the smaller stuff too. How many of us are spending hundreds of dollars a month on Amazon? I'll buy an entire set of like acrylic pantry organizers because I have this vision that if everything looks perfect in my kitchen, that I'll feel calmer. I'm buying a feeling, right? But if I had someone who put the groceries away for me, my pantry would stay organized. I'm buying things to compensate for not having help and calling that a responsible purchase while calling help an indulgence. I'd rather have a slightly older car and a person in my house 12 hours a week, doing laundry, organizing the pantry, prepping food, and helping me with being a professional Uber for my kids. Isn't that crazy to think about that that's really the choice we have? One comes with shame and one comes with, oh my God, let me see your new car. And the other is, you did what? Oh, okay. We've got to get out of the shame for creating a new plan and a new system for a new world that we're in. Dual career families are new, and we have to create new systems for them. The way that I like to do it myself and how I explain it to clients is I just think about money in one hand and I think about time in the other. And I will give you money all day long if you'll give me time. It's the opposite of the mindset of if you can do it yourself, you should. And to me, I think about that as a fixed mindset, almost agreed, like I have my money and I'm holding on to it and you'll never get it. Whereas I like to have abundance here because I feel greedy with my time. As you know, I had a freak accident, put me in a coma when I was 39. I know that time is not a given. And I would much rather have that time to be in the moment with my kids, to go on a walk, to go out to dinner with friends, than to be doing yet another chore another night and not getting enough sleep and feeling exhausted and sick the next day. I would much rather give you this money so that I can have the time. And it's time that we all start remembering we get to spend our money however we want. So I know that this might feel tone deaf if you are not making multiple six figures, but there are ways that you can barter and still resource for yourself even as you're in the come up phase. You can, I used to, find another parent who could do pickup and drop off, and we do every other day. Instantly, my pickup and drop off is 50% of the time. So taking the time to slow down and find that structure and find people who, I'll babysit your kids one Saturday night, you babysit mine the next Saturday night. No money exchanged. And now you both have a date night every other week, right? So taking the time to say we're worth it and that we're going to create an actual structure and an actual plan makes so much sense since we're living in this world that is brand new. And if we don't fix it, we're going to be in pain. We're going to unnecessarily suffer if we don't create systems that support us, right? There was a Harvard Business School professor, Ashley Willens, who surveyed more than 6,000 people across 4 countries. And the finding was clear. People who spent money buying themselves time reported significantly greater life satisfaction than those who spent the same money on material things. People who hire a house cleaner or pay the kid next door to mow the lawn might feel like they're being lazy, but our results suggest that buying time has similar benefits on happiness to having more money. Even among millionaires, nearly half spent no money outsourcing tasks they disliked. Even millionaires. The guilt is not a money problem. It's a mindset problem. It's that shame that has deep roots. A lot of us grew up hearing, if you can do it yourself, you should. That asking for help is a luxury at best. Laziness is a little more common. And that was only for a certain type of people who were, certain type of ways. That script was written for a completely different world, and you're allowed to rewrite it. So as you may or may not know, I was a single mom for 9 years. 9 years of doing everything alone. Work, kids, household, all of it. And even then, even when I was running on fumes and doing the impossible every single day, I didn't outsource enough, not nearly enough, and not nearly soon enough. I moved to Chicago where I knew no one, and I had a global business leader job, and I hired an au pair, and it helped so much. And I was still wildly judged for how bougie it is to have an au pair. And what's interesting is having an au pair is often a lot more cost effective than having a nanny. It would have been almost twice the cost for me to hire a nanny, but it was the stereotype behind it that was so bougie. And yet I still didn't help myself enough because I didn't get any help with laundry. I didn't get any help with household chores. I didn't get any help with errands. I didn't get any help with driving, right? Like I got help with childcare and was called so bougie for it. And I just want to keep reiterating through this that it doesn't matter what people call you. Doesn't matter what they think. For a long time, like my family back home, I'm a girl from Kansas, right? And my brother would be like, "Oh my God, Shayla, you're so bougie." And it would bother me so much because I love the salt of the earth people from Kansas, and I didn't want to feel like I had changed from that. I'm still a good person in my heart. And somehow I thought that this made me not. Like I intermixed all of these values, right? And then finally, I changed my mindset about it. And he's like, "Oh, Shayla's so bougie." And I'm like, "Yep, I am. I am. I'm different than I used to be. My lifestyle is different. The way I show up is different. The way that I dress is different. Sure, I'm bougie all day, all day. I like nice things. I have a great income, and I absolutely get support, right? And so I just want you to think about where your guilt and shame is coming from and if there is a reframe for it. If A, you could accept it, B, you could ignore it, C, you can, and this is to me is the hardest part, let people be wrong about you. And so I think that there's a few different things on why I didn't outsource enough. Part of it was that I didn't believe I deserved for my life to not be that hard. I'd internalized the idea that struggle was how you proved you were serious, that needing help was a sign that you couldn't cut it, that if I could white knuckle through it, I should, because I'm strong. I don't need shit. I don't need anybody. I don't need help. I got this, right? What I know now is that was not strength. That was a lack of self-worth dressed up as independence. I think of it as the softer life, not soft in the way people use it as an insult, soft in the way that means I have decided I do not have to prove anything to anybody, and I do not have to suffer unnecessarily to prove that I'm strong. And if I want my house to be clean and I want food to be prepared and I want to take my vitamins and walk out the door as a healthy, present, resourced version of myself, that is my choice. And I want to remind you that it is yours as well. And if I want to be in a good mood when I see my kids instead of running on empty because the task list was never done, that's not weakness, it's strategy. You are the asset. High performers protect the asset. And protecting that asset is not selfish. It is how you sustain the performance. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about an upcoming workshop that I'm going to have. I'm actually going to have some clients on, and we're going to talk specifically about resourcing. We are going to talk about clients that I have that have hired household managers, ways that they've done different things with childcare and with laundry and with meal prep, and just creative uses of spending money in a way that makes you enjoy your actual life more. And so if you go to shaylaking.com/waitlist, you'll get on that waitlist so that you can know about the workshop that we are getting ready to host. All right, let's brainstorm together. Now, if you are in a dual high income household, I want you to sit with this for a second. Think about what we celebrate when someone makes it. A new car, a bigger truck, maybe a boat. Nobody questions it. It is understood as a reward, a symbol. You earned it. You get the thing. But what if instead of the boat, you spent that same money buying back your time? Your laundry's done. Your meals are prepped. Your kids are shuttled 3 times a week. Your house is in order when you walk in the door on a Thursday evening. Same money, completely different life. So here's what I want you to do. Start a brainstorm. Ask yourself 2 questions. First, if I could hand off anything in my week, what would it be? Not what's realistic yet, just what drains you. What do you dread? What steals an hour or 2 that you will never get back? And second, what am I spending money right now that is actually bringing me joy? Not the vacations, keep those, but the stuff you bought to compensate for not having support. What of those things are not bringing you that much joy? Bring that list when you come to the workshop. Michelle Obama has a quote that I really like that is, we need to do a better job of putting ourselves higher on our own to-do list. And that's what we're going to talk about at this workshop, where we go through how to resource yourself, how to understand that you're the asset. And when you become the asset, everything gets easier at work too. Promotions are more common, even more pay raises are more common because you're not depleted. Executives do not promote leaders who look like they are already overwhelmed at their current role. So it helps all the way around. And we only have one life, and you get to choose exactly how you want to live it, how you want to design it. And when you model a life that is depleted, running on empty, grinding through every day just to get to the weekend, your kids are watching and they are learning. And they are learning this is what adulthood looks like, that ambition costs you your peace, that loving your family means sacrificing yourself completely, that the reward for growing up is 18 years of feeling like life is getting sucked out of you. Can you imagine the burden that we put on our kids when they think that we're depleted and exhausted because of them? Can you imagine carrying that? Feeling like your existence is a drain on the people that you love the most? This is a hard truth, but it's the burden that we put on our kids when we refuse to resource ourselves. But when you do the work differently, when you protect yourself, the asset, and you design a life you actually love, you're showing your children something completely different. You're showing them what it looks like to love yourself first, to treat yourself like you matter, to build a life that you and your spouse and your kids can genuinely enjoy living. That, my friends, is legacy. That's what we're actually doing here. You don't have to choose between the career and the life. You can have them both. But both requires that you stop playing by a playbook that was never written for you. Stop trying to earn approval from people who will never be satisfied anyways, and start making decisions that serve the life you are actually trying to build. That, my friends, is the 5% life. And anything else at this point seems a little crazy. So get on the wait list for the workshop, shaylaking.com/waitlist, and send this episode to someone who needs it today. If this hit home for you, love for you to give me a review on the podcast so we can share this with even more leaders who deserve a 5% life. This conversation, my friends, is just getting started. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me in the 5% Club today. If you're ready to make more, work less, and design a life you love, then go to shaylaking.com and join the waitlist. You'll be the first to know when there's openings to work with me in one-on-one coaching or the Performance and Happiness Lab, my group container where you will learn to be a high-performing, highly paid executive who loves your whole life. I'll see you there.